She's back. Hey, Happy New Year again. If I missed you the last time. So, we're working on the first full week of the new year. So, happy 2026. Uh, I've been, kind of recapping some of my stories from last year. I'll probably skip ahead on a few things, but like I said, I just want to get back into a routine. So, welcome back to I've Got a Story. And I'm Cindy, in case you don't know me. And I've been acquiring new friends and followers, and I just want to be able to help them catch up with my stories. And if you've been tried and true and following me, thank you. I appreciate it. And I'll try not to bore you with rehashing too much of past stories. But anyway, let me start off with my prayer. Lord, I thank you that you allowed me to share my stories with these followers, with these friends, with this family. Whether I've met them before or whether I've never met them before, they are part of your family, and so therefore they're part of my family. Lord, I just ask that you give me the wisdom to discern, what to share. I ask that I can glorify you in all that I say, and that I'm a blessing to those who are listening. And I pray that they will take something away from my stories that will edify you and just help them remember that you are the God who not only loves me but who loves them. So thank you. In your precious name, amen. So anyway, my mother's been fussing at me because my music's been too loud in the background. So I'm messing with it, and I'm trying to do better. So I am working on that. If you've noticed that my music's too loud, I appreciate it. You being patient with me. So again, I'm learning. So the last couple things I shared was when I was born, Cuban Missile Crisis. My mother was blind. She had the surgery after I was born, so she was able to get most of her vision back. But the cataracts has always been an issue in my family. And my father was able to do some genetic, just kind of doing some historical genetic kind of backtracking, and found some other family members who had the same situation. When my mother was really young, she was taken away from her mother, so she wasn't raised with her mom, and her mom is the one that had the cataracts. And my aunt, one of her sisters, she was blind, but she was blind for a different reason. She had been abused by her husband at a young age, and as a result of that abuse, she lost her vision. She was an awesome lady. I met her a couple of times, and she loved the Lord. She really did, and I'm so glad I got to meet her. I got to, get a chance to get to know her, and she ended up marrying somebody who was also visually impaired, but he loved the Lord too, and they both would sing, and it was kind of neat to meet both of them. I had several surgeries throughout my youth, either for the cataracts or for muscle, because I didn't have vision in my right eye. My right eye would go off, and the muscle would just lazy eye, and they would go in and do surgery, and it never really helped. But yeah, it was just part of the routine of following up with me and trying to give me the best of my youth, the best advantages. It was such a good thing that my father was military, because it could have been outrageously expensive to have the care that I did. And there was a couple times where civilian hospitals took care of me, and Mom would have to sort of raise the money through her artwork to help pay for my care. But then again, it's all God. God orchestrated certain things to be able to provide the best for me, and I always had doctors that were caring and who would do the best they could to give me the best medical options as the best medical options possible. As I said before, I was one of 5 that was known at the time, and this is in the early 60s. And congenital cataracts was not something that was common, or if it was common, it wasn't known that it was common. But as time progressed, the medical advantages became more abundant. They were able to experiment a little bit and to do even better as far as giving me the best care possible. And I know sometimes they had to practice on me. Sometimes they would say, "We haven't had to do this before, but we think this," and I trusted them. I had to. Well, what am I going to do? Say no? But they always did their best, and I always appreciate that. Now, one of the things that happened was when my brother was young, since they knew it was congenital, they knew that they would have to keep a watch on him, and they did some surgery, preventive surgery, and try to stay ahead of the game, not to let it get as bad as what had happened to me. As I said, my right eye, I went totally blind, and left eye was partially blind. Now, because of the cataracts, I had a lot of problems with. If you know anything about how your eyes dilate, you have cones and rods, I think, and that helps your eyes dilate to adjust to the dimness or to the brightness, so that your eyes can protect itself from harsh light. Or if you go someplace where it's dark, your eyes will dilate so that it lets in more light, so that you can see better. When I go into a theater, if it's dark, I'm out of luck. My eyes don't adjust like everybody else's, and but I know how to adjust to that. When I go to church, I usually try to go early because they'll turn the lights down for ambiance before they start praise and worship. And if I get there early enough, I can get to my seat and I get comfortable. And when the lights go out, I'm already kind of where I need to be. It's not one of those situations where I go in and start running over people with my wheelchair. So, again, I've always had people who try to provide the best care possible for me. When I lost my vision at 21, it was due to a retina detachment. And they don't know if it was because I also had iritis, which is basically your eyes flare up, kind of like arthritis of the eyes. And the iritis was so bad that they couldn't see in my eye, and I couldn't see out of it. All I could see was just this whirlpool of green in my eyes. And here I am hitting my microphone again. So they had to give me a shot in the eye of steroid and try to dissipate, the inflammation. Once they looked into my eye, they could see that it was 95. The retina itself, the tissue of the eye, was torn, 95% detached. So they did the surgery, and I was able to, start the healing process after they did the surgery. The first time didn't work at MUSC. It didn't really take. Then they sent me to Bethesda, Maryland, and again, I had wonderful doctors in Bethesda, and they discussed me amongst the Eye Institute and John Hopkins. So they sat and discussed my care. The best would sit down and they would discuss the patients that they had, and they would use the advantage of the previous patients and say, okay, we found out this worked. We've tried this, and this is something that we're trying now. One of the studies that they did was where they would put an air bubble behind the eye when they did the retina attach. When they tried to reattach it, they would put this silicone band around the eye, basically squeeze the eye back together, give it a chance to heal. It's kind of like doing a butterfly. And some of you may have already heard part of this story, so I'll try not to go totally into it. But kind of acts like a butterfly when you bring the skin together and gives it a chance to reattach, and that's how the eye worked. And they would put an air bubble behind my eye, and that would be added pressure and added chance for my eye to heal. And apparently it worked. I had to lay on my face for a week. I had to be like this for a whole week to keep the air bubble behind the eye. After a week, I was able to kind of go back to somewhat routine. I still had a few months where I wasn't allowed to do anything. I wasn't allowed to go dancing and carousing and things like that. And before I lost my vision, I was able to drive. But after I turned 21, after the surgery, I was never able to drive again. So that's, I'm 63 now, so do the math. So yeah, they were able to give my eye a chance to heal better. Now, I don't know if I shared this story with y'all previously or not, for the ones who've been following me. When my vision started coming back, it was just like little bits at a time. And the way that I try to compare it to is if you have a snow globe and you shake that snow globe and you have all the snow just kind of falling. And that's kind of how like my eyes did. There's a bunch of scar tissue floating around my eye. I would see like literally scar tissue just floating across. And it's like a scene from Star Wars, or if you saw Stranger Things, you know, you see all those little floaties in the I forget what it's called, the upside down. So it's that's kind of how my vision is actually. It still is like that, not to the degree as it was back then. I still have a lot of floaties that go around but I'm just so used to it. I don't even think about it anymore. It's if you've ever looked at an old TV and you see that's how my vision was. You know, back in the 60s, 70s, we were so used to it. We'd watch the TV shows, we'd mess with the antenna and try to get the best visual possible. But sometimes you would still get the snow. We called it the snow. And you just get used to it. And it's kind of like a learned helplessness kind of thing, like Pavlov kind of thing. And you just go on. And even when I read, it's kind of like that too. It was like people would see me just kind of like do this, and it's kind of like I'm literally trying to move the scar tissue out of my field of vision so that I can actually see. Again, you just get used to it. So if I'm looking at you and you see me blinking, I'm just trying to blink away the scar tissue, you know. But what's so cool is your brain sort of fills in the blanks. You know, your brain kind of like says, okay, this is what the rest of the face looks like. This is probably what the rest of this, and AI does the same thing. You know, they kind of say, well, this is sort of like the part that we can see, but because we can't tell, we're going to fill in the blanks. We're just going to add what is the common. And so that's how my vision's always been. And I always appreciate the fact that I've been able to adjust. And, you know, it's kind of like that when I go into places that I don't know. It's just like I kind of give myself a chance to sort of discern where certain things are, or take a little slow, you know. and then kind of be able to figure out, okay, this is where this is where this is. And sometimes I have to, like, okay, I need to find a restroom. Where is it? But yeah, but the rest of us have to do that too. So anyway, one of the things I'm trying to do is trying to keep my stories to about 15 minutes, because I do have a tendency to sort of ad lib, to get to kind of get off track, and I'm trying to make sure I stay on track when I share my stories. Right now, I'm just trying to update a little bit from when I lost my vision at 4. And, like I said, through the years, I've had several surgeries, and I've had to get bifocals most of my life. When I was a teenager, I was able to start wearing hard contact lenses. They didn't have the soft lens like they do now. They were very expensive. Sometimes it wasn't a matter of me not wanting to wear the contacts. Sometimes it was a matter of could I afford them. Glasses were expensive, and because glasses were literally glass. And when I was in school, there were some sports. I couldn't play dodgeball because if I got hit in the head, first of all, it's not a good idea to play dodgeball when you have cataracts, because you could get hit, and then you could basically start up the cataracts again. It was dangerous for me. And then having glasses, the same thing that happened to my aunt, getting hit in the head with glass, which basically destroyed her vision. It could very well do, and I only have one eye. So you become very protective of the one eye that you have. And the one eye that I had was like 20/60. The vision was good enough to where I was able to get a driver's license when I turned 16. And I was a very good driver. At least that's what my mother tells me. I had a good sense of direction. And, one of my first jobs was downtown Charleston. So, you had to learn your way around downtown Charleston, especially with all the one-way streets. And I did good. I was only in one accident. That was my fault. The other 4 were other people's fault. And there's stories that go along with that one. But yeah, so I was able to drive from the time I was 16 to the time I lost my vision at 21. So, I got to do that. That was one thing I think I hated the most about when I lost my vision, was losing my independence. I went to college at Charleston, so the good thing about college at Charleston is you get everywhere by walking anyway. So I lived on campus, and then I lived on King Street and around the hospital. So every place I went, I was able to walk. Sometimes when it rained, the water was up to my knees, because downtown Charleston floods so bad. But I was able to do it. I got around, and I enjoyed living downtown Charleston. It was, I had a lot of cool adventures, and I just reminisce about that. And then I have some friends that I still talk to, where we can kind of talk about the past. But anyway, well, again, I'm going to have to see how the music was in the background, make sure I wasn't too loud. So I'll check with my mom and make sure my music was okay. The music sort of helps me stay focused. So, so I guess it's that ADD mentality that I have. But anyway, so again, I hope everybody had a wonderful new year to start with. It's only, like I said, the first week in January. I will try to be posting, different little stories, at least once or twice a week, depending on, my schedule. One of the things that I'm doing with the new year is, as I told you, I'm sort of purging and getting rid of a lot of stuff. I've gotten rid of about 2 bags of clothes that I haven't been wearing in years. One of the things about being in a wheelchair is there's just some things that are just not comfortable to wear in a wheelchair. And when you get to a certain age, your bladder doesn't work like it's supposed to. So zippers and I don't get along so well anymore. So not TMI, I know. but I prefer elastic, and so I'm kind of going through all my clothes, and I love anything that's tunic and long, something that's not binding. So I'm just going through, and I'm just being very purposeful about what is in my wardrobe. Uh, you know, a little bit of that and vanity, goes a long way. I have a lot of clothes. I'm not going to lie to you. I've been spoiled over the years. That's one thing. If anybody knows me, they know that my nails are always done. I try to always have my hair done, and I always try to have a certain style in my clothes. I'm sort of like a bohemian type person in my wardrobe. Once in a while, I venture off into something else, but I just, if I like it, I'm probably going to get it. That's one of the things with the traveling is that I'll find stuff in the Bahamas, or when I'm traveling around, I'll see something, and I like stuff that other people don't have. And I was like that in high school too. So if you knew me in high school, you knew I was like that. The only time that I looked like everybody else was when I was in RTC and I had to wear a uniform, which was okay because I was a Navy brat, so I understood the concept of uniforms. Anyway, so I will leave y'all again. And last time I forgot to say this, so I'll make sure I get back into my routine. Be a blessing and be blessed. One of the things that you find is when you bless other people, that you in turn will be blessed. Make a new friend this week. Be adventurous and say hi to somebody you haven't said hi before, and get to know them. I had people do that to me at church, where they just come up and say, "Who are you?" And I've been going there for years now. But yeah, I always appreciate the chance to get to know new people. I'm getting back into my Lola group, starting to meet again, and it's one of those things. It doesn't matter if it's 2 of us or 10 of us. We get to fellowship and hang out and enjoy each other's company. So if you're not part of my Lola group, I encourage you to start your own little group, and that's basically like a ladies' fellowship. Just getting a chance to hang out and get to know each other. Funerals do not make good reunions, and that's why I started my group. So anyway, so my puppies are stirring, so I will go take care of them. And like I said, be a blessing, be blessed, and have a wonderful week. Take care. Bye.